Hi, this is Usha. Welcome to Rathod Science classes. Today in this lecture, we are going to discuss current affairs of 5th March 2021. In this lecture, we are going to discuss 8 topics which are very much relevant to UPSC. So let's get started with our discussion and let us see first article. So if you see title, it mainly says that OTT over the top platforms will not have to register. Okay. So this is title of this article. So this article mainly talking about this OTT platforms. So regarding this OTT platforms, we had a detailed discussion regarding what is this and everything regarding this background of this OTT platforms. And if you see, we are going to discuss this thing also, that is OTT content needs to be checked. So this is according to Supreme Court. So we are going to see these two together in this article. So if you see context, it mainly says that Ministry of Information and Broadcasting has clarified that OTT over the top platforms, they will not have to register with the government. So this is statement which is given by our Ministry of Information and Broadcasting here. So if you see details regarding this article, it mainly says that Center had notified new rules and guidelines mainly for this OTT platforms and as well as digital news media. So in this context here, Ministry of Information and Broadcasting mainly said that there will be nothing like registration with government here. So there will be no government nominee will be present in this self-regulatory body. So according to new rules which is came up by government, they mainly say that new information technology intermediary guideline and digital media ethics code rules 2021. So according to this new rules which are mainly introduced recently here, so under this it mainly said that there is a need of three-tier grievance redressal mechanism for this over the top platforms. So under this 3 tiers there will be tier 1, tier 2 and tier 3. So this tier 1 mainly includes grievance cell, tier 2 includes self-regulatory body of this OTT platforms, and tier 3 includes interministerial panel to look into this complaints regarding this OTT platforms. So in this context, this OTT platforms, they will have to self-classify their content into 5 age-based categories. So those 5 include, the first one is U universal, second one is U by A 7 plus, U by A 13 plus, U by A 16 plus, and finally adults. So whenever we are going to classify this content according to this new rules, here OTT platforms, they would be also required to implement parental lock for content which is especially classified, that is U by A 13 plus or higher. That means for U by A 13 plus, U by A 16 plus and adults. Okay, and also there is a need of reliable age verification mechanism for content, especially for this adult. So these are some important things here. So here under these 3 tiers, that is tier 1, tier 2 and tier 3, so there will be no government nominee regarding this self-regulatory body. So in this context, Ministry of Information and Broadcasting mainly said that these platforms will not have to register with the government. So these are regarding this first article. And if you see next one, that is regarding Supreme Court. So Supreme Court already gave some guidelines here. Supreme Court mainly said that this OTT platforms like, for example, Netflix, Amazon Prime Video, etc. right? So we have many OTT platforms. To that OTT platforms in favor of screening content shown by them. So in this context, Supreme Court said that there is a need for regulation of that content, and this social media and as well as this OTT platform, they are accountable for their content according to this new rules which came up by Center recently. Because if you see some of these OTT platforms, they are mainly hosting some films, and these films are mainly pornographic in nature. Mainly because of this, whatever content which is providing by these OTT platforms, who will be responsible? Here they will be responsible, that is social media platforms and this OTT platforms, they are accountable for their content according to new rules. So these are some important things that should remember regarding this article. So if at all any editorial will appear regarding this OTT, we are going to have a detailed discussion regarding that OTT. Okay. And now let us see next article. Title says 20 from Myanmar seek refuge in India. So this article mainly talking about refugees from Myanmar. So as we know regarding this background, why these refugees they are entering into India, because of this military coup that happened in Myanmar. So that is mainly leading to refugees to enter into India. So this article is important regarding international relations, which comes under GS paper 2. Now let us have a detailed discussion on this topic. Whatever which is required from prelims and also mains point of view, we are going to have a discussion. So now let us see context. Here context mainly says that at least 20 people, including some security personnel, they have crossed into Mizoram from military coup hit Myanmar, and they have sought refuge in India. So because of military coup that happened, so there are about 20 people, including some security officials of Myanmar, they crossed into Mizoram and they are having some sort of refuge in India. So if you see details regarding this article, it mainly says that mainly some border resident in this Champhai and as well as Sharif districts, which are mainly located in Mizoram. So these residents are mainly claiming that at least 50 people they had crossed border. And this article also says that some of those who sought to refuge India, they were security personnel also. So these security personnel, they escaped because of their inability to follow certain instructions which are mainly given by military. So because of this, they came out of Myanmar and they entered into India. And if you see why military coup that happened in Myanmar. So in Myanmar, there is fear of losing power, especially recently elections that held in Myanmar, and that led to victory of NDL government there. So what happened here, there is a fear of losing power of opposition party, and opposition party is mainly favored by this military here. So even there is limited democracy under this Suu Kyi mainly threatened military rulers in that area. So because recently elections happened in that Myanmar, and Myanmar in that elections mainly Suu Kyi government that won the party here. So what happened in these elections, mainly there are some allegations like, so there are some rigged elections that happened. So because of this, here opposition party is having mainly fear of losing this power and approach the military for help. So the second reason here is rigged election. So official reason mainly stated by this Myanmar army for military coup here is rigged elections. And in this context, Myanmar Election Commission has mainly denied any such incident. There is no such event that happened in these elections of Myanmar. So this is statement which is given by Election Commission of Myanmar. So in this context, if we talk about need for accountability for crimes against humanity. So because of this military coup, we are seeing some crimes against this humanity. So because of this, the people started refuge to India here. And if you see what is need for accountability. So if you are talking about culture of impunity during this 2017 Rohingya crisis, we already observed here. So because of military only, we saw Rohingya crisis in 2017. So in the same way, now we are seeing refugee of many Myanmaris who are entering into India. So senior military officials, they are brazenly exploited social media mainly to mobilize some public support for brutality against these Rohingyas. So in this way, military officials also use social media mainly to increase or mobilize this brutality against these Rohingyas. And these Rohingyas, they started coming out of Myanmar and they started taking refuge in Bangladesh and India. That is evident in year 2017. And till now, there is no permanent solution for this Myanmar Rohingyas. And next one is, if you are talking about other ethnic groups in Myanmar, they include Bama. So these Bamas are largest ethnic group of Myanmar. And next one is other minorities of 35% people. They are mainly supporting this NLD government. So because of that, they are mainly exploited by army mainly for strongholds and as well as to re-establish that government here. So because of all these things, here these minority people or ethnic groups, they are mainly exploited by this army and they started coming out of Myanmar here and they are taking refuge in India. So these are some important reasons here. So now we are going to see what will be challenges before India and how to maintain India and Myanmar relations in future. So first one is, there is a tight rope between idealism and real politics. So what happened, India mainly wish and as well as it support democracy here but not military. And if you are talking about military mainly it is supported by China here. So this is because of this we are having tight rope between idealism and real politics there. And next one is, there is deeper ties with Myanmar army that cannot be broken. Because Myanmar, it is very crucial for securing and managing of northeastern frontier. So in this area, at this border of India and Myanmar, there are many insurgent groups that are active here. So mainly to suppress them, there is need of military of Myanmar. So in this way, we also need some deeper ties with Myanmar army. And next one is Chinese factor. India cannot afford to lose another neighbor to China here, because China mainly helping military of Myanmar. So because of this, Myanmar it is mainly moving towards China, and also China which is coming up with China-Myanmar economic corridor that is mainly passes through this Myanmar. So because of this, here Myanmar it is mainly moving towards very close to China. And next one is Myanmar is very important for India because this acts as mainly a gateway to southeast. So it is an important key mainly for establishing of contact with the Southeast Asia. And India also went for infrastructure engagement in Myanmar. So we already had some highways like India-Myanmar Thailand trilateral highway, and we also went for Kaladan multimodal transit transportation network, and also we are going to have infrastructure projects in Sittaway port here. So whenever we do not have a good relationship with Myanmar, then these infrastructure projects will got halt. Okay, so these are some important facts that you should remember regarding this article. And now let us see next article. Title says Bangladesh border killings due to crime. So this article mainly talking about Bangladesh border killings according to one report. So this article is again important regarding international relations, which comes under GS paper 2. And this article is especially important regarding mains. Now let us try to see this article in great detail. So if you see context, it mainly says that criminal activities, they are responsible for killing along Indo-Bangladesh border. So this is statement which is given by our External Affairs Minister. Our External Affairs Minister mainly said that important reason for killings that are happening at Indo-Bangladesh border here is criminal activities. So if you see some details which are given in this article, it mainly says that mainly our Prime Minister and as well as our Minister of External Affairs participated in celebrations of 50th anniversary of Bangladesh independence, and also it marks 50 years of Bangladesh-India diplomatic relations here. Mainly for getting Bangladesh independence, India played an important role here. So because of this, it mainly marks 50 years of Bangladesh-India diplomatic relations also. So if you see some facts regarding this article, it mainly says that Bangladesh was very important to India because it acts as a center mainly for India's neighborhood first policy, and we also increased relevant to countries' Act East policy, and we also went for expansion of relationship with Bangladesh in many dimensions like security, trade, transport, connectivity, culture, and also people-to-people ties. And next one is India's strategic ties with Bangladesh. They are increasing day by day. And we can say they will be truly about 360 degrees partnership between India and Bangladesh. So these are some important details mainly highlighted. And if you see recent one report mainly released, so the name of that report mainly given by this Dhaka Tribune. So this Dhaka Tribune mainly says that deaths are fairly deep inside in India. So there is increasing incidents of killing of Bangladesh nationalists mainly in 2020. So what is this Dhaka Tribune? So this Dhaka Tribune, it is a national English language broadsheet daily newspaper, and it provides news mainly related to stories of international broadcasters, and as well as it focuses on issues like free speech and as well as refugees. So because of this, it came up with this report that is increase in number of killings at Indo-Bangladesh border. So these are some important facts that you should remember. And now let us see next article. Title says cutting down child obesity difficult. So this article mainly focusing on one important health problem, that is child obesity. Obesity is one of important problem we are facing now. So this article is important regarding health, which comes under GS paper 2. So now let us have a detailed discussion on this topic. So context mainly says that we celebrated this World Obesity Day yesterday. So on this day, doctors mainly from various specializations, they convene alert regarding threat from obesity. And in this context, doctors also mainly stressed on methods to cut down and also to avoid multiple severe health complications because of this obesity. So in this obesity, we can see there will be increase in fat levels. So whenever there is increase in fat or cholesterol, then what happen? So it will be deposited in unwanted places, right? Behind our stomach and as well as in buttocks and also in hands, etc. There will be deposition of fat. So this deposition of fat or cholesterol not only happens in body, and also we can see in blood vessels also, that will leads to deposition. So whenever there is cholesterol that is deposited in these blood vessels, that will lead to narrowing of blood vessels, that will lead to many heart diseases, right? So if you see some details regarding this article, it mainly says that obesity from childhood is difficult to cut down as we compared with that of this obesity in adulthood. So what are causes for this obesity? First one is lifestyle changes, second one is genetics, third one is hypothyroidism, and fourth one is birth control pills. So whenever you are using birth control pill, that will have some effects on your hormones especially. So because of this changes in hormones, that will lead to obesity. And next one is hypothyroidism. So any people who are suffering with this hypothyroidism, one important sign we can see here is they will be fat. And next one is genetical problem also, it may be genetical problem. And next one is lifestyle factors. So lifestyle factors means when we are going for eating unhealthy food. For example, if you are having a burger with a coke, and also fast foods outside, and unnecessary taking of butter, cheese, etc. So all these things that will lead to obesity. And also whenever there is lack of physical activities, there is no exercise, there is no yoga. So in that way what happens, because of lack of physical activity also, that will lead to obesity. So these are primary causes of this obesity. And if you see some data which mainly highlighted in this article, it mainly says that India has about 14.44 million obese children. And if you see, they are mainly one of important precursor for cause of high cholesterol level, high diabetes mellitus, and also even hypertension. So these high cholesterol level, diabetes mellitus and hypertension, that will further leads to problems like heart problems, kidney problems, and as well as brain problems. So these are some important things that should remember regarding this article. And now let us see next article. Title says IISc in top 100 list in natural sciences. So this article mainly focusing on recent ranking here. So this article is important regarding GS paper 2 education and as well as GS paper 2 governance also. Now let us have a detailed discussion on this topic. So if you see, this article mainly talking about QS World University Ranking. So recently QS came up with this World University Ranking regarding education institutions. So if you see context, it mainly says that the Indian Institute of Science, which broke into the top 100 in the natural science category. So we have this Indian Institute of Sciences, so which is mainly occupying place of 98, that is top 100 colleges regarding this natural science category. So if you see some details, it mainly says that 2 new entrants to top 100 list. They include JNU's anthropology program, and next one is OP Jindal Global University Law program. So if you see about this OP Jindal Global University, that is one of private industry on the list. So these are some important details. So if you are talking about another category, that is engineering and technology category, there are about 3 institutions which have made it into top 10. They include IIT Bombay, IIT Delhi, and as well as IIT Madras. So if you are comparing with this earlier ranking of 2020, so last year from this engineering and technology category, there are about 5 universities, that is Kanpur and also Kharagpur, they are included. But this Kanpur and Kharagpur, they dropped in this year, okay. And if you see IIT Bombay, IIT Madras and IIT Delhi, they are mainly setting up some extra central funding with specific aim of risking this global standards. So because of this, these 3 universities, they mainly stand below 100. And if you see University of Delhi, Delhi was the first and highest ranked Indian institute in social sciences and management. So regarding the subject of social sciences and management, here University of Delhi mainly seen in top 100. And next one is, if you are talking about medical sciences, it is AIIMS. AIIMS, it is mainly located in top 300 in life sciences and medicine, and it also dropped about more than 10 places this year. So now let us try to talk about some facts regarding this QS World University Subject Ranking 2021. Okay, so this QS World University Subject Rankings 2021 mainly released by London-based Quackerly Simons. Okay, So this QS mainly uses 4 key metrics to complete or compile these rankings. So those 4 innovations or those 4 metrics include academic reputation, employer reputation, citations per paper, and as well as H index. So based on these 4, this QS will come up with ranking of different institutes across world. And it is also, if you're talking about this QS, it is world's leading provider of services, analytics and insights into global higher education sector. And if you see top rankers of this year's ranking regarding this engineering and technology, they include MIT USA, Stanford USA, and as well as Cambridge UK. And if you're talking about other fields like natural sciences, first one is MIT US, second one is Stanford US, and third one is Harvard US. So if you're talking about India's performance in this 2021, there are about 25 Indian programs from just 12 institutions. So they made it into top 100 in their specific subject area. If you're talking about earlier in 2020, it was about 21. Okay. So these are some important things that you should remember regarding this article. And now let us see next article. Before seeing this article, I want to make a small announcement on this platform. We came up with this current affairs package course. In this course, we are exclusively focusing on current affairs and also mains answer writing practice. So if you ask me what is importance of current affairs, I can say 50 to 60% of questions, either it may be prelims, mains or interview, they will come from this current affairs. And next one is, if you are getting any static based questions, they are also related to this current affairs. So mastering of current affairs, it is an important key mainly to clear this UPSC. And if you are talking about this mains answer writing practice, one thing for sure is, without proper answer writing skills, you cannot clear UPSC for sure. So on day 1 onwards, you need to focus on how to improve your mains answer writing skills. And if you are joining this course, we also provide you prelims practice questions on weekly basis along with video solutions. So in this way, this course is highly beneficial and also highly economical. So this course, it is for 1 year. For 1 year, we are providing you current affairs and as well as mains answer writing practice and also prelims based test also. So we also came up with free trial of this current affairs package. So if you are interested, please join that. So details are given in the description box. Now let us see next article. Title says efficacious 2. So this article mainly focusing on Covaxin. So background regarding this article we discussed in our yesterday's lecture, right? So we are going to see why this Covaxin, it is in editorial section. So this article is important regarding health, which comes under GS paper 2, and this topic is important regarding mains. Now let us have a detailed discussion on this topic. So if you see background, it mainly says that vaccine efficacy of this Covaxin is found about 80.6%. So this Covaxin is from Bharat Biotech and it is first interim analysis of this phase 3 clinical study mainly said that efficacy is about 80.6%. And this Covaxin also approved for restricted emergency use by Indian drug regulator, that is DCGI, Drug Controller General of India. So recently this Covaxin also got restricted emergency use authorization. And if you see this article, it mainly says that efficacy of this Covaxin is mainly measured based on symptomatic COVID-19 disease, mainly based on patients who are suffering from mild, moderate to severe COVID-19. So mainly they are going to check for this efficacy after giving second dose after 14 days. And in this first interim study, they mainly studied about 43 COVID-19 patients. So out of this 43 COVID-19 patients, 36 from placebo and only 7 cases from this people who gave this Covaxin. So because of this, we can say if we are calculating 36 cases from placebo and 7 cases from this COVID-19 given COVID-19 vaccination, then the scientists mainly found out efficacy is about 80.6. If you are talking about this further studies of this phase 3 clinical trials, so they are going to have this phase 3 clinical trials until there are about 130 patients in both groups, that is in placebo group and as well as in COVID-19 groups, they develop this COVID-19 disease. And second phase here is in this interim analysis, they will be carried out when there are about 87 cases that will be acquired in both the cases, that is in patients who are given with this placebo and patients who are given with vaccines here. So in this way, if you see this first interim analysis, it mainly said that it is about 80.6% of efficacy. So if you are talking about vaccine efficacy of AstraZeneca, that is Covishield, so in first interim study it is about just 55.1%. And this data regarding this study mainly released in Lancet Infectious Diseases here. And in this report, it mainly says that COVAX mainly appears safe and as well as high immunogenic, and as well as it is effective against the B117 variant of UK. So these are many advantages regarding this Covaxin. Here first one is Covaxin, mainly it is very safe and as well as it is very efficacious, and even in animal studies and as well as even in human studies in phase 1 and phase 2 there is no side effects that is seen. So if you see details mainly says that Covaxin mainly accounts less than 10% of all COVID-19 vaccination in India, and there is absolute number of vaccination mainly stands at over 1.6 crore, and this Covaxin also reported no deaths as of now. So because of this, now this article mainly says that Indian regulator, that is DGCI, that is Drug Controller General of India, need to remove RABEL, that is clinical trial model here. And next one is and government need to go for revision of this restricted emergency use approval, and government should no longer seek additional precautions made in form of signed consent and as well as something before this vaccination of this Covaxin. So these are some important details that you should remember regarding this article. I hope it is clear. And now let us see next article. Title says ending the war in Yemen. So this article mainly focusing on Yemen crisis. So this article is very important regarding international relations, which comes under GS paper 2. So if you are talking about background of this war in Yemen, that mainly dates back to Arab Spring. So whenever this Arab Spring came here, so what is important aim here? So this Arab Spring mainly focus on democratic transition. That means we need to move towards autocracy to democracy. So autocracy means king's rule, authoritarian rule towards democracy. So this is important aim of this Arab Spring, and with starting of this Arab Spring that led to war in Yemen. So now let us try to understand how this war in Yemen that started and what is way forward, what can be done. And now first in this paragraph, this article mainly talked about US. Okay, now let us have a detailed discussion regarding this topic. So this article mainly says that first key policy decision which came up by US President, that is new administration of US, that is President Joe Biden, mainly took after assuming this office here is to end US support for Saudi Arabia's 6-year-long war on Yemen. So on this 6-year-long war of Yemen, mainly US it is supporting Saudi Arabia. So in this new administration, so under this President Joe Biden, the first important step which is mainly taken in his foreign policy here is to stop or to end US support to Saudi Arabia. So in this context, Biden mainly halted weapons sales to Saudi Arabia, and he also appointed special envoy for Yemen, and he also removed Shia Houthi rebels. Those Shia Houthi rebels, they have control in northwestern parts of Arab country, mainly from the list of foreign terrorist organization. So this Shia Houthi rebels are removed. So these are three important steps which are mainly taken by Biden administration. So first one is halted weapons sale, second one is he appointed special envoy, and third one is he removed this Shia Houthi rebels from list of foreign terrorist organization. So if you are talking about war in Yemen, this Yemen crisis mainly started in way back here. So this Yemen crisis, it is not only simply Saudi Houthi conflict here. So it had many dimensions like humanitarian crisis, civil war, geopolitical scenario, and as well as some sectarian issues. So these all are some dimensions of this Yemen crisis, but not solely Saudi Houthi conflict. So if you see history regarding this Yemen crisis, so this conflict had its roots from Arab Spring of 2011. So because of this, we saw there is political transition or democracy that established in Yemen. So power mainly shifted from Saleh to Hadi. So Saleh, he was authoritarian king or ruler of Saudi Arabia. So from this authoritarian ruler, so power which is mainly transferred to Hadi here. So this Hadi mainly want to bring some stability in this Yemen. So whenever there is any political transition that happened, so people of this area, they will mainly hope that there will be some stability in that region that will become. But if you see, President Hadi mainly struggled to deal with various problems of Yemen. They include militant attacks, corruption, food insecurity, and also some people they continued to loyal to this Saleh, especially military officers. So because of this, in 2014, fighting that began in Yemen here. So mainly Houthi Shia Muslim rebel movement that started in 2014, and that took mainly advantage of new president's weakness, and Houthi they managed to seize control of northern Sada province and also neighboring areas, and later on they also shifted to capital Sana'a here, and in this capital Sana'a they mainly forced Hadi to exile abroad here, and now control of this Yemen that came into the hands of these Houthis. So in 2015, conflict escalated because Saudi Arabia and also other 8 Muslim Sunni Arab countries or Arab states, they mainly backed by US, UK and France, and they began air strikes against these Houthis in Yemen here. So important aim here is mainly to restore Mr. Hadi's government here. So in this way, Saudi mainly claims success of Saudi in Yemen here is how they were limited to northwest. But if you see here, Saudi mainly backed government mainly failed to consolidate the position of even in south. Even in south, we can see there is presence of Houthis. So this separatist group also came into picture, that is STC, Southern Transitional Council, which is mainly backed by UAE. So they mainly established rule in southern Yemen. Okay. So first important stakeholder here is Saudi Arabia, and Saudi Arabia mainly supported by US, UK and France. And other country here is UAE. UAE came up with a Southern Transitional Council. So this Southern Transitional Council mainly it is an established rule in this southern Yemen, and it is mainly backed by UAE. And later on what happened, this type of political crisis that is happening on one side, on another side humanitarian crisis in this Yemen which is worsening here. So this war mainly killed about 10,000 people, and this war mainly pushed country into blink of famine. And according to United Nations, about 50,000 Yemens they were starving to death, and about 16 million they will go hunger every year, or hunger this year especially because of COVID-19 pandemic. And there are also other problems like many are dying because of preventable diseases, and there is lack of proper health infrastructure in this Yemen. So these all are some humanitarian crises that are worsening in this Yemen. So in this context, what is way forward, what can be done? So first one is we can go for immediate food supply, mainly that can help to tackle this humanitarian situation in Yemen. And next one is need aid operations, and as well as United Nations should hold a conference to raise up money of about $2.41 billion for aid works in Yemen, but as of now only they got $1.35 billion. And if you see about this Houthis are very much highly technological nowadays. They mainly using some high sophisticated weapons, technology and as well as drones. So by using these drones, they are mainly attacking Saudi Arabia. And if Saudi Arabia mainly want this international legitimacy and it want to bring peace in this Yemen, it need to go for stopping, and as well as it need to go for start talking with other stakeholders mainly who are involved in this Yemen crisis. And next one is we can go for confidence building measures, and it can push for talks mainly for lasting ceasefire. So one ceasefire between these two main rival blocs that is achieved here, and US and regional organizations or regional allies, they could mainly call for multilateral conference which are mainly involving all stakeholders to discuss this Yemen future. So these are some important way forward mainly suggested in this article. I hope it is clear now. Now let us see next article. Title says not to stellar in protecting personal liberty. So this article mainly focusing on how courts or how judiciary, which is not focusing to protect personal liberty of people. So this article is important regarding polity, which comes under GS paper 2, and this article totally focused on 2 to 3 cases here. So we are going to extract what is important regarding UPSC point of view from this article. We are not going to discuss each and every line here. That is not important regarding UPSC. So regarding UPSC, you need to understand concept here, but not what happened, when happened, everything that is not required. Overall, you have to understand this issue in very deeply, and you have to understand what will be impact that is seen on society and as well as India at last. Okay, now let us try to understand this article in great detail. So this article mainly focusing on personal liberty. So in India, we are seeing there is no freedom, or there is losing of freedom that is given to people, and here judiciary which is not being supported to protect freedom of people or personal liberty of people, and this can be mainly evident through three important cases. The first one is Priya Ramani case, second one is Disha Ravi case, and third one is Purohit case. So regarding this Priya Ramani, she mainly accused regarding this defamation. So after arrest, after some months of trial here, finally Supreme Court or finally judiciary came up with there is nothing done with this Priya Ramani, and she released. And recently we studied about this Disha Ravi case regarding this farmer protest. So she came up with one toolkit. This toolkit provides some information regarding any topic with infographics, pictures, data, etc. here. So this Disha Ravi shared one toolkit related to this farm protest, and mainly she was accused, like because of that toolkit which is circulated in social media platforms, that led to violence and that is against the public order. So she was accused, mainly she was charged under this Sedition Act, and later on she is taken to custody for 10 days, and after that judgment that is given by judiciary says that so this toolkit which not created any violence here. So because of all these things, now there is no liberty, no freedom here that to be enjoyed by people. So if you are talking about freedom of speech and expression, it is fundamental right which comes under part 3 of our Indian constitution. But this fundamental right which is not absolute, there are some reasonable restrictions which are mainly given under article 19 subclass 2 also. So whenever there is nothing which is mainly done by these people, whenever they are giving some dissent against the central laws and central policies, whenever they are arrested and they are charged with some colonial laws, then that will leads to no freedom, or that will leads to compromisation of their freedom of speech and expression, right? So though we have freedom of speech and expression in our fundamental rights, it is not an absolute right. So there are some reasonable restrictions that can be imposed on grounds of security of state, territory of state, integrity of the country, and as well as public order, etc. here. So in this context, mainly whenever people are mainly suppressed by imposition of this laws like sedition. So this sedition, it is a colonial era law. So even UK now it repealed this sedition law, but in India we are now following this sedition. So regarding the sedition, we have some positives and we have some negatives here. So we already given one question regarding what are positives and as well as what are negatives regarding the sedition law, right? So now I think there is no need of explanation of this sedition law once again. So if you see, recently in yesterday's lecture, we also studied about Freedom Index. It is mainly released by US think tank, that is Freedom House. So this Freedom House came up with this Freedom Index of 2021. So in this index also, it mainly highlighted that freedom in India, it is losing day by day, and rank regarding this India is also slipped. So in this context, what is need? Need here is we need to promote values of personal liberty, and we need to encourage free thought and expression of people. And also we need to complete erasure of rule of law. So these are some need that can be done, or this is the way forward which is mainly suggested in this article. Now let us see mains question today. So the outcomes of the judiciary in the defense of liberty, free thought and speech seem to be far from routine. So elaborate. So in context of recent judgments regarding these three cases, that is Disha Ravi case and also Ramani case, so how judiciary mainly not protecting, or how judiciary is also compromising on personal liberty. So you have to write this answer, and answer should not be more than 150 words. Try to write answer. So by this we are concluding today. I hope you enjoyed this lecture. Please subscribe to my channel and don't forget to like, share and comment my videos. And don't forget to visit free Trail of Current Affairs package. Thank you so much.